This is the second lesson for today's series on minimum household budgets and how to make sure that you're spending well and spending carefully. And so we're going to be talking about task one, Mr. Richardson, who is trying to teach his son Micah about the importance of taking care of your family. Below are some common pieces of advice that he has to share with his son. In the space, elaborate on what each piece of advice means and or how you could practically follow the advice. And so these are just case and situations. And so A, why is Micah's dad saying you got to keep the lights on? Why is it? Well, having light, is that important in life? Is that a need or a want? And we're going to talk a lot about needs and wants. You got to keep the lights on. Yeah. Why? You can't survive without it. Now, I know some of you say you can. You can for a short period of time. You're going to get really tired of it, but you can't survive without taking care of this basic need. Without taking care of your basic need first. So we need a handle that we need lights on. This is a basic need that everybody needs. Electricity is one of those things as well. But you'll hear people say you got to keep the lights on. You got to pay your electric bill. Because if you don't pay it on time, they're going to turn it off every time. Mr. Richardson says, take care of the essentials first. What does that mean? Meaning, I got to pay my bills first. Pay the bills first. Don't do other things. You don't want to go entertainment. You don't want to go ride your four-wheeler or whatever. You got to pay your bills first, then spend on other things. It's very important, okay? Pay your bills first. Then you can spend a little bit here and there. Have a rainy day fund. You might hear people talk about that. That means if I want to have a rainy day, I might have a bad event, might get in a car wreck. I want to make sure I save up some money. So you shouldn't spend all your money. So some of you do that now. You may go mow a lawn and you make $60. Do you spend it all? Well, some of you might, but what you really should be doing is putting some aside for later. So set aside money for emergencies, and we call this the rainy day fund. Rainy days, and we just call it that. It's just a figure of speech. And if it rains and you hydroplane and you hurt yourself in a car wreck, you're going to want to make sure you have money to spend in the emergency room. And it doesn't mean just that. Having a rainy day fund, this saying has been around forever. When they have lots of rain and the farmers couldn't, deal with their crops and they couldn't make money. So you want to save for emergencies. If you can't afford it, save a little bit over time. And it's important if you've got big purchases just to put money aside rather than just go into debt by putting it on your credit card bill. Okay? So it's important to save for big purchases. And you need to do that. If you want to buy that car, start saving now if you're going to turn 16. But you don't want to go in debt rather than go into debt. You don't want to go into debt. You don't want to get lower and lower and lower into debt. And by spending it, you're going to do that. A minimum household budget includes all the expenses that are necessary to meet your family's basic, and I know there's not a line for that, needs, your family's needs, and they need to be basic. This is a minimum budget. This minimum household budget varies based on the number of people in your family and where you live. So depending on if you live in Texas, It's a little less expensive to live here than it is California or other places. So you save based on your needs. So sorting some items, we're going to talk about wants and needs. What do I want and what do I need? My wants is what I really want, but I may not need it. So we're going to go through these things and kind of categorize them, and you're going to figure out where they go. So I have a cell phone. Is that a need or a want? Some of us adults, it's a need because we don't have another phone. But you as a student and as someone that doesn't necessarily need it, it is a want. Okay. Eating out. Is that a basic need or is that a want? Eating out is a want. You have to pay for the waitresses and tipping them and everything. It does cost you a lot extra. It's not really a need. You can go to the grocery store. Rent. Well, that's a need because I need a house over my head. I need to be living somewhere. Water bill. Water bill is essential, basic needs. I need water to live, to bathe, to clean myself, to clean anything. Entertainment. Entertainment is definitely a want. I want to go socialize. I want to go to Top Golf. I want to do these things. That's entertainment. That's a want. Electricity bill. That's a need. We need electricity. And please don't do those what ifs, okay? Electricity is a need that most people need, especially with Wi-Fi and computers and technology. Groceries. Groceries is definitely a basic need. Everybody's got to buy them to survive. Toilet paper, all those essentials you need, toothpaste. Those are basic needs. Vacation savings. A vacation savings or going on vacation or saving for vacation is definitely a want. It's not necessarily a need. So those are some differences between basic needs and what we really want. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about expenditures in our budget on the next page. So flip over. So we're going to read each situation below and based on the information, determine the annual salary each person would need to make in order to fulfill their family's budget. So we have rent, food, transportation, utilities, insurance, and taxes. So we're going to total this all up and I'm going to save you the time, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the sum is $3,650. That's adding all of these up. The annual salary, that's the monthly total right there, would be times 12. So if I multiply this number times 12, I'll get $43,800. I'm not doing all the math with you. This is something you would do on your own. So that's a family of 4 in Dallas. We have a married couple. That's 2 people. Couple is 2. These are their expenses. If I add up all their expenses, their monthly expenses come to $2,550. Annually, that's times 12 is $30,600. That's what they're bringing in. Family of 4, that's their salary there. Okay. So let's take a look at Houston, Texas. Expenses here monthly, $1,200. Annual salary is $14,400. Describe why the transportation costs might be more expensive for a married couple in Tyler. So let's take a look at Tyler, the transportation expenses. So just looking at that right there, if we're taking a look at it, why would it be more expensive? What are some reasons? Okay, so why? Transportation means they're driving their vehicles. So why is it more expensive? Well, is everybody in the family of 4 driving? Probably not. Single roommates, maybe they live close to work or something. But what about these people? Do you think maybe they have to drive to work? Yeah, that's probably what it is. Maybe both people drive to work. So it makes it more expensive, right? It's a good, unique possibility. Maybe you can think of some other ones. Think about that for a minute. Okay, what is the advantage of having roommates? So why do we want roommates? Well, if I have a roommate, we can share some of these expenses, and that's important. Roommates can help share some fixed expenses or fixed costs, such as rent and utilities. Now back up to this number on the annual salary. This is what, for the family of four, this is how much they would have to make a year to survive, because that's how much is coming out. And this is how much the married couple has to together make annually in a year at work to make this work out. And so a lot of people, one income might be 25 to 30,000 for one person. So this is doable if both people are working at a fair job. This is a little more expensive. And then if you look here, annual salary is not very much. And that's just single with roommates. This is one person's kind of expenditure. So that's why it's much lower. The single person in Houston, Texas, is having difficulty finding a job with a salary. And that happens a lot. He determines that if he can find a job earning $10 per hour and work 25 hours a week, he can keep his budget the same. Determine if he's correct or incorrect. Okay, so he thinks he can determine that he can find a job earning $10 per hour and working 25 hours a week. Okay, so 25 hours at $10 per hour. So that's 25 times 10. And we're going to figure out how much he's making in 1 week. And that's just a week or 1 week of time. So 25 times 10 is just 25 with a 0 behind it. So he's making $250 1 week. And there are 4 weeks in 1 month. So that means I need to multiply this by 4. And that means it's $1,000 in a month. So looking up at what his monthly expenditures are, which is $1,200. So he determines that if he can find a job making $10 an hour, working 25 hours a week, he can keep his budget the same. Is this true? No. His budget right now is $1,200. If he's only bringing in $1,000 a month, he's short. How much? So $1,200 is what he is going to spend. $1,000 is what he would be earning. Does he have enough? And no, he's negative. He's negative $200 short for the month. This is not going to work. And these are things to consider. Do I need to get a better job? Yeah, he's going to have to make more than $10 an hour, probably $12 or $14 at least. Write an equation to represent how you calculated the necessary annual salary the married couple in Tyler, Texas needed to earn. Well, basically, looking at the married couple, and going back up here, it was $25.50 a month, and this is for 12 months. Annual salary means 12 months. Annual means per year. So we're taking the $25.50 and multiplying by 12. So to get our value, it's $25.50 times 12, and it just wants the equation. In Austin, Texas, the cost of housing for a family of 4 is $1,600 per month. How much more would the family of 4 need to bring home annually in order to cover the cost of increased housing? So the cost of housing for a family of 4, cost of housing. And so how much more would the family of 4 need to bring home? So this is our family of 4, and it's $1,200 there. And they're bringing in from Austin. So the family of 4 from Austin is in comparison to Dallas. So rent here in Dallas is $1,200. So I know it's $1,200 there. In Austin, it's $1,600. So 1,600 minus 1,200 is $400 more expensive, $400 more expensive to live in Austin. That's pretty accurate. How much more would they have to do annually? Well, annually is 12 months in order to cover the cost of increased housing. So that would be times 12. And 4 times 12 is 48 with two zeros behind it. So it's going to be an additional 4,800 that they're going to have to bring in to cover the cost of extra housing. Okay. And so this ends the discussion for lesson 2, personal financial literacy. Just a rehash, we were talking about minimum household budgets and watching what our expenses are, totaling them up and carrying and comparing them to an annual salary of what I would need to make in order to make that living expenses work. And this is something you can calculate yourself. This is the end of lesson 2.